Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Beth, and for today's video, I'm going to be talking about one of these new Pocket Play shadow palettes from Stila that just launched at Ulta not too long ago. So these retail for $30, and I have mine in the shade Pretty Petal. There are two other color variations. One has some really pretty olive tones, and the other one, it looks like, is mostly matte. So they say that this is an expertly curated 5-shade palette for multiple looks in major play. This one has nude pinks and shimmery pops for the prettiest looks and eye-brightening power. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this little guy here. I thought the packaging on these was really interesting. That's the kind of size of it. And it's in a tin, and then you open it. It says ready to play there. There is a little mirror. Remove that. I think when this first launched, a lot of people were saying that there was a little bit too much wasted space, which I kind of agree with. I don't think it was really necessary to have one shade that was square, although it does look like maybe it's a bit bigger. It has this like weird foam kind of texture, and I just wanted to see, I'm not sure if it's possible to remove it. It looks like it's pretty glued in there. If I wanted to completely destroy it, I could probably pull it out. So I don't know, if you wanted to reuse this little tin for something afterwards, I suppose you could. But anyway, let's create a little eye look here. So this struck me as being something that would be very kind of easy for an everyday eye look. I, in part, picked it up because there's a shade called, I think, Cherry Blossom, and being in the DC area, I have an affinity and fondness for cherry blossoms. There's also a shade called Lily, which is my niece's name. So I'll swatch these for you in just a second. I'm actually going to set my eye primer with that middle shade there. I do like having a matte shade like this in a palette, but I can also just use a face powder. And if my under eyes look a little different, it's because I was just filming my Sephora try-on haul, and I was trying out some different products. So that is powder, kind of a nice little wash there. I'm going to take that was a Sigma E50, by the way. Take my mini booster in the same shade and just run that underneath the lash line. Helps to prevent any creases. And then I'm going to take my large crease from Sonia G and go into that bottom right shade. I'd say this mirror it's serviceable. It's not something I would like choose to use necessarily if I had a larger mirror. And this is not a perfectly clean brush, unfortunately. So if you see any sparkle, I think that's just because the brush is a little bit dirty. So very kind of easy matte formula. If you have a deeper complexion, you might want to reach for a dark brown, maybe from another palette. I think this does well enough for me. Okay, so going into that bottom shade with a rougher 28. And okay, so this is definitely a flakier shade. You might want to wet your brush. Pretty. Just have this Nomad mist here. So with a damp brush, go on the other side. I don't think that helped, to be honest. I think if anything, it made it a little bit harder to pick up. It is a very kind of chunky formula. So you probably want to use a finger, I'm guessing. If you like that kind of high shine foiled look though, I think you might enjoy it. All right, so I'm gonna call it there with that shade, and then I have this shade here, which looks like a little bit more of a standard kind of shimmer. It's not as foiled. It's not bad. I wouldn't say it's great, to be honest. Finally, I'm gonna go into that white shade. Same little brush. I think the original founders of Stila have gone on to create a brand called Neen, which I might try out. They have some, I can't recall if they're 5 pans, but I think they're a little bit on the smaller side. But yeah, they have some palettes I think that they just launched that I'm curious to try. So let's go ahead and talk about the shades here. And it does have it on the top as well. So Floaty Lotus is an iridescent green sparkle topper. Lily Lush is a nude pink champagne metallic. Sweet Pea is a light pink matte. Freesia Fine is a rose gold metallic. That one right there. The two metallics do seem to have slightly different texture to them. And the last shade here is the shade Cherry Bloom, that one. And that is a dusty rose matte. All right, so those are the 5 shades there. I might see if I can top or put a little bit of that Floaty Lotus shade on top, since I do say it is a topper. I don't know if that's gonna make a huge difference. And for reference, you do get 0.14 ounces or 4 grams, so a little bit less than a gram per shadow. These are made in the USA, and they have, I think, an 18-month shelf life. Alrighty, so I think that's about as much as I can do with these shades. So let me find an eyeliner and I'll tell you kind of what I think about them as I apply it. So I'll use the Bobbi Brown liner in Rich Chocolate. So I think if you were looking at spending about $30 on a very kind of easy, kind of everyday eyeshadow palette, I would probably point you towards one of the small ABH palettes. I think those are around $29, and you get, I think, 9 shades as opposed to 5, so you have more options and more variety. I have reviewed, I think, all of the ones that they have released to date. There is a mini sultry, I think these are all still available, a mini sultry, a mini modern renaissance, a mini sugar, and a mini spice, I think it's called. I did see that they're going to be releasing another one at some point soon, so that might be something to look at. I guess where I struggle a little bit beyond just the number of shades, I think color story wise there's a nice mix, at least if you are my skin tone. Like I said, if you have a deeper complexion, you might need a little bit more depth to work with. But I think the formulation, and again, this kind of goes back to the number of shades as well. If you only have a limited number of shades in a palette, you really need them all to work well, because you don't really have kind of the space for any duds. The more shades that you have, the more you can kind of reach for other things. So there's that, and you kind of want, especially for more of an everyday palette, all of the formulations to be really easy to work with. So I think for me anyway, my preferences kind of flip a little bit for a small versus a larger palette. Like if it's a smaller palette, I want all of the shades to be kind of easy to work with, kind of everyday, not going to give me any trouble, not going to take any kind of heroic measures kind of thing. If I'm, you know, buying something with more shades, then I'm more interested maybe in some of those special shades, you know, that make the palette a little bit more exciting. And even if some of the metallics maybe take a little bit more time to work with, if you're creating more of a special look, you might be willing to put that kind of effort into it. So unfortunately, actually, I'm going to spray my face before I apply mascara. This is the Lisa Eldridge Mist. It's a little bit finer. So I think the Stila palette kind of falls short in giving me something that I want to reach for on kind of an everyday basis. And at the same time, like I have other metallics and other topper shades that I like better. I did see that we're supposed to be getting another Moondust quad at some point, so I can't recall how much the last 4-pan was, but again, just thinking of kind of smaller palettes that might be around this price point, that Moondust palettes kind of serve a different purpose in that you're probably just reaching into those for like one shade. But anyway, yeah, that's the final look. I don't think it's a total dud, but I don't think it's a home run. It's just again, if I'm trying to steer you towards the best products out there, I don't think this would kind of make the cut. So I'll just throw on a quick lip oil from Bobbi Brown. This is in the shade New Romantic. So I think that's a pretty fresh spring look. But anyway, yeah, if you want to see the rest of the makeup on my face, I'll have my try-on haul linked for you, or vice versa, depending on which goes up first. But I hope you enjoyed this look at this little eyeshadow palette. Hopefully this was helpful to you. And if it was, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.